In 2004, RuneScape players across the world logged in to be met with an extremely exciting update. Jagex had released horses into the game. All players had to do was go and meet Diango the cowboy to grab their very own steed. There was one problem though. Players soon realized that Diango only sold toy horses. Although the players loved the toy horses, which were later used by nefarious gambling syndicates, they weren't quite the same as riding an actual horse. Oh wait, what was the date again? April 1. And so the RuneScape April Fool's Day tradition was born. And what would ensue was a large list of weird and wacky pranks played on the player base by cheeky Jagex moderators. Like in 2005, when players thought that Jagex had finally released the long anticipated dragon plate body. See, back in 2005, the dragon chain body was the ultimate piece of armor, so naturally the idea of a dragon plate body was very desirable. So players log in on April 1, 2005 and see the release of dragon plates. So much hype, I bet, but these were literally just spinning plates with dragons on them that you could purchase from Diango for 100 GP. Interestingly though, Jagex unknowingly actually made a discontinued item from this event. On the day of release, a spinning plate would have a chance of being dropped when the player spun it, turning it into a broken plate. This feature was heavily criticized as players had no option except to discard the now useless item and buy a new plate. As a result, the plates were hotfixed on the same day to no longer break. However, Jagex never removed the already broken plates from the game. As of 2017, the last time this was checked, the number of active players with broken plates still in their bank was 19, with no more than 184 shared between them, making them one of the rarest untradeable items in the game. In 2008, Jagex did something no game has ever tried before. They released one of RuneScape's strongest monsters, Jad, into the middle of Varrock. 3 goblins could be found riding on his back, screaming the phrase, "Subscribe to How to RuneScape's channel." April Fools! Okay, no, really. In 2008, Jagex actually just continued the theme of giving their players fake items, this time with the strong demand for a dragon kite shield. Players were told they could finally get their hands on a dragon kite, which, you guessed it, was a literal kite. Players could wield a kite and fly it around. The item was renamed a couple of days later to Toy Kite. Skip forward a year to 2009. Players logged into a different style of April Fool's Day. If you tried to pick a cabbage from the Falador Cabbage Patch, the cabbage would come to life, say a random phrase such as "All hail Brassica Prime" and hop around. Or the player would pick a cabbage seed. The players could also tap, kick, or catch cabbages. Once they were caught, they could be used as a weapon, thrown to other players, or be eaten. All cabbages, with the exception of Drain or Mana cabbages, could be wielded. Which begs the question, what is going on with Drain or cabbages? The wield option for cabbages was apparently removed when the Easter event for that year began. Who doesn't love a bit of cabbage shenanigans? And spoiler alert, there's a lot more cabbage pranks to come. I don't know why Jagex was so obsessed with cabbages, but so was I about 15 years ago.
Freaking lovely, amazing cabbages. I love cabbage.
Yep, that was me. Alright, on April 1 in 2010, players were met with an announcement on the RuneScape homepage. To their excitement, the announcement detailed a RuneScape theme park named Wet and Wildy. The developer blog stated the park would be opened in the 5th quarter of 2010. Considering there's only 4 quarters in a year, this was meant to show that it was a hoax. But that didn't stop us, no. Many players flooded the forums, believing that it was true. Later on, one of the forum mods had to admit that it was a joke, and the article was edited telling everyone that it was fake, and that a Wet and Wildy Wallpaper will soon be released. Not our brightest moment as a community. In 2012, Jagex claimed in a news update that green Pea Hats were going to be dropped in Varrock, Falador, and Lumbridge. Now, if you don't know, Pea Hat was a common way to refer to party hats, which were some of the most expensive items in the game. I'm sure at least a few players were ready to make absolute bank, but in true Jagex style, the green Pea Hat was not really a green party hat, but a literal pea hat, a pea attached to a string. After the event was over, the pea hat was able to be bought from Diango for 1 coin. Not quite the moneymaker people were probably hoping for, and this particular year actually had 2 April Fool's pranks. Jagex must have felt really cheeky this year. So on the same day, Jagex also announced Jag Motion, a new innovative and extremely ridiculous way to play RuneScape, and they even had a trailer for it.
Jag Motion is so exciting because it allows us to connect the player to their avatar in ways we never imagined possible. Jump, and your character jumps too. As you dance, your avatar dances along with you, suddenly mining firing ranged weapons, and agility all take on whole new lives that really put the player in the heart of the action.
The device that would supposedly allow players to control the game with motion detection and voice recognition was apparently going to be released for sale by Christmas, and would supposedly cost £307. Another year, another prank. In 2013, Jagex announced that they would be releasing Cook's Assistant, the musical.
We want to tell the story of perhaps the most iconic quest of all time.
The Cook's Assistant is a really straightforward tale, but it's also quite iconic and it's close to all of our hearts.
Full live action, full musical score extravaganza.
We proudly present Cook's Assistant, the musical.
Now perhaps it's not the first quest you'd think of dramatising.
All aspects of building the show, including set building, acting.
Go back to the flames, you unbaked bread!
The video included phrases like, "The tickets will be literally impossible to get a hold of," and "We're on track for a totally unreal show," to sort of hint at the fact that it was a joke. And this was also the year that we had the first old school RuneScape April Fool's event. Players that logged into old school found that party hats and Easter eggs were dropped in Varrock, Falador, Ardoin, and Lumbridge. This was a huge deal since it was the first time that rares were released into the game. However, it's April Fool's Day, so items would jump and hop away when players tried to pick them up, and casting telekinetic grab on them only gave a player cabbages and pink skirts in their inventory. Some players even tried cornering the eggs and hats, which actually resulted in showing the animation of picking them up, but nothing would appear in their inventory. And in 2014, Jagex announced that the sailing skill would be released. A news post detailed the release, and there were actual in-game boats near Draenor that players could sail on. Quickly, players found out that they only ended up on one island, and that they could only gain a maximum of 5,000 experience before being reset to 0. I actually recently made an extensive video on this prank in particular. I recommend checking out my last video if you're interested. Skip forward to 2015, and players met the NPC Little Mo, who was a dealer of various merchandise. He discovered a valuable artifact and asked players to help him deliver packages to his customers. Once all 3 packages had been delivered, Little Mo would tell you a long story. After listening to his story, he would give you a pair of dragon claws. This was huge, since the player base at the time was split over the addition of dragon claws, some saying that they were way too OP, others wanting that awesome spec, and so players finally got their claws, or so it seemed. In true Jagex fashion, these claws were fake. They could not be wielded and only showed the claw spec emote when pressed, which to this day is actually still used to prank players at places like the Kraken boss. Don't ask how I know that. Now, in 2016, we saw the return of the classic Cabbage meme. Players logged in to find the evolution of Cabbage Event. Probably a little joke at the evolution of combat update that we all sort of know about. Players who took part could gain up to level 120 in a skill called cabbage picking, gaining 1 level per cabbage picked. Every 10 levels gained, the cabbages would evolve and require different tools to pick. There was also a cabbage rune that was used to pick magic cabbages. Am I the only one that wants the cabbage runes in the game for real? Like, I don't know, let us perform bones to cabbages with them or something. And the rewards from this event included the Cabbage Cape and the Cruciferius Codex. I don't think I'm saying that right. Also known as the Holy Book of Cabbages. Now, you've probably heard some talk in the past about negative XP lamps. There was a bit of drama on it a little while ago. But what about negative XP drops? Well, in 2018, players were told that this would become a reality. If you logged in and started training your skills with data orbs enabled and XP drops visible, you would occasionally see a negative XP drop, resulting in negative experience gained. In addition to this, a developer's blog proposed a new skill called Advanced Warfare. It would include weapons such as RPGs, gnome-copter gunships, and tactical nukes. And as a final touch, the creme de la creme, the usual forum link at the bottom of the news post would send you to Rick Astley's music video of Never Gonna Give You Up, instead of the RuneScape forums, which is commonly known as Rick Rolling. Yes, Jagex Rick rolled the community. Definitely enough there to get the player base riled up. Skip forward to 2020, and yet another fake skill was pitched to the players. This time, it was pet ranching. Sounds a little similar to taming, don't you think? Players were told that they could start off the new skill by choosing between 3 pets from Professor Magic Tree, a clear reference to Pokemon. A day center, pet battling, and pet raids were also proposed. And the developer blog also listed a bunch of other ludicrous changes, such as players being granted 1 level up in any skill by eating purple sweets, making quest dialogue appear one word at a time, and the addition of a new item called XP Share, which players could bind to any skill to receive halved XP into rune crafting. And on April Fool's Day 2021, Jagex released this extremely bizarre video on Twitter, depicting Jad, General Grador, and the Nightmare joining a lunch club. This is also a possible reference to the game Doki Doki Literature Club, which I'm probably pronouncing wrong as well. Well, Jagex sure seem to love pranking their players. Unfortunately, we haven't been pranked by them in a little while, so here's hoping they pick up their socks in 2024 and give us what we're all craving, some much needed tongue-in-cheek humour. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be back next week with another one. Please like and subscribe for more content like this, and let me know which prank was your favourite. Okay, bye.